George, actually, this is just a quick one to follow up if I can. But first of all, you just interviewed 23 top candidates for GM and head coach. And through the process, I'm curious what, if anything, you learned about your organization from talking to them. And then just the follow-up is you've also created a new position already with assistant general manager Ian Cunningham. Was that all agreed to and worked out with Ryan before he took the job and you offered the job?
I think to a man, the candidates were appreciative of the Bears' history and of the challenge for getting us back to where we belong. We did talk to Ryan about how his player personnel department would be structured, and assistant general manager was one of the positions that he mentioned.
Couple questions, George. First one, how much conversation among the search group, if any, involved or revolved around the fact that you were hiring 2 first-year guys in the jobs that they're in? Did that cause any pause at all?
I wouldn't say so. We talked about the qualities that each of the candidates, Ryan and Matt, brought to the position, and our recommendation and our comments about the candidates to Ryan were based on what we thought they could bring to the Bears, and he's well aware of their backgrounds and their experience.
Quick follow-up. What's the reason for not announcing how long their contracts are? I think fans would love to know, some sort of timeline, how much faith you have, and then those sort of things.
Yeah, I think as an organization, it's just out of respect for the individual. That's a private matter, and if the individual wishes to make it public, they're welcome to, but I don't think that's the Bears' place.
George, be honest, Ryan and Matt again? Any concern there?
Oh. Thank you.
No, in all seriousness, both men are first time, as GM and head coach. Any trepidation with that? And what above all else makes you think that they'll be able to handle those jobs as first time guys and be the ones to get it right for the Bears?
Well, I think you saw the qualities that they display, and those are the qualities that we're excited about. And I would say that the better word is excitement.
George, when during the process did Ryan Poles come on your radar, and how did he come on your radar initially?
It was part of the discussion among the search team. We relied heavily on Bill's recommendation. He has a lot of contacts around the league and had heard good things about him and felt we should interview him, and we were very impressed with him when we conducted that interview.
That it was unanimous amongst the room in terms of the impression he made. Specifics in that interview that left you feeling that way when you left that interview?
The qualities that I mentioned, his direct manner, his confidence, his poise, his philosophy and vision for building the Bears.
George, can you explain a little bit about the search for the coach specifically and the course you guys took, interviewing candidates, and then did the approach to that search change once you hired Ryan Poles?
Well, there were some candidates who were only available during certain windows. And so we wanted to get a head start on the head coaching search so that when we turned it over to whoever the general manager was, he would have that base of knowledge in order to move forward. And as Ryan mentioned, Matt was on his list of candidates that he liked for the head coaching position. So we had already lined up a second interview with Matt before Ryan came back for his second interview.
Just to follow up on that, George, so 3 weeks ago you said you would be the one who would have the final say on the head coach and general manager selection. And then it's been made pretty clear, Ryan interviewed the 3 finalists on his own and made the decision by himself. What changed?
Well, I told Ryan that I was fine with any of the 3 finalist candidates that he wanted to interview, and it was his decision.
Hey, George, to go back to you mentioning that the second interview was requested of Matt before, I think even Ryan was interviewed. I think the request came on Friday, the interview was on Saturday. So when Matt's name comes up in your conversations with Ryan? I mean, how much does that pique your interest? How encouraged were you that the committee's search might align with Ryan's search?
Yeah, that was an important consideration for us. We wanted that, that partnership to be solid. It's so important for us to get the results that we want for that partnership to work. So when we interviewed Matt, and then I'm not sure exactly what the order was, but when Ryan mentioned that Matt was on his list, that was significant to us.
George, the interviews you did, 13 GM, 10 head coach, did you learn something from each one? Or at some point was there diminishing returns in spending 2 full weeks kind of combing through a list?
I would say the best part of the interviews, and Ryan and Matt both referenced it, is when Bill Polian's talking football with a general manager candidate or a head coaching candidate, all you can do is sit back and soak up the knowledge. It was an exciting and educational opportunity for us.
Personally for you, what was it like? What have the last couple weeks been like in terms of hours spent on all of this?
It was kind of a whirlwind for us. Bill brought back 2-a-days, and I think one day we had 3 interviews in one day. That was a bit of a slog. But the important thing was to get as much information as possible, as quickly as possible, because once we saw the people that we wanted, we had to move quickly.
Hey, George, you've done a few of these, and I'm sure you are confident after each one. You know, with Phil Emery and with Ryan Pace, how did those experiences maybe affect this kind of decision you made and the search? And I think a quick follow-up would be, did you actually drive when you picked up Ryan at the airport? I know that was a question people had.
I think every experience has its benefits. Hopefully, you're learning from the experiences, both positive and negative, and that helps frame your reference in the selection process. Yes, I drive, parked in the garage, White Sox level, $3 to the city.
George, when it comes to the length of the contracts, you guys used to announce that. I remember specifically when you moved on from John Fox, you announced that Ryan Pace had been extended through the 2021 season. So I guess what has changed? Why has that now become something I think you called private?
Yeah, we thought about it. We talked about it and talked to Matt and Ryan about what their preference was, and their preference that it not be disclosed, and we're honoring that request.
George, did you guys reach out to Jim Harbaugh at all? And if not, why not?
After each of the interviews that we conducted, we released a statement confirming that we had spoken to that candidate, and we're not going to engage in speculation about what other candidates could have been interviewed or might have been interviewed.
Time for a few more.
Herb Howard, the Biggs Media. George, you had your VP of Diversity and Inclusion, Tanisha Wade, as well as Soup Campbell, both of whom are black, on the search committee. Why was that important to you? And then how significant was that, considering that you landed on a 36-year-old black man as GM of Chicago Bears?
I thought they were both terrific. Very glad that we had them as part of the process. We wanted to have a diverse field of candidates and give as many candidates as possible a full, open, and complete opportunity to present their credentials to us, and very pleased with the result.
We'll go to Dion and then we'll close with Tom.
Hi, George. Why was it important for you to meet Ryan at the airport, and what did you learn about him in your commute back here?
I wanted to show him that we care. I wanted he and I to have the opportunity to speak one-on-one, and I wanted him to have the opportunity to see Halas Hall if he wanted to, which he did.
George, I asked actually Matt and Ryan about this, knowing now what the Bengals did in 2 years and knowing the mood of the fan base out there, what is your level of expectation and level of patience with this new regime?
Well, we're very excited to have them on board, and at this point, I think we have to give them an opportunity to assess the roster and crystallize what our needs are. But we're very excited about the future.